College of Engineering, and it's my honor and privilege to host this event this evening. So, it's an honor to stand here before you to reflect on the incredible achievements of one of the most transformative programs at the University of Massachusetts Lowell, the DifferenceMaker program. As we gather here, we celebrate innovation and a spirit of collaboration, creativity, and leadership that has been the cornerstone of this program since its inception. The DifferenceMaker program was designed with a singular goal: to inspire students to impact the world around them positively. Over the years, it has become a beacon of entrepreneurship, empowering students not only to think outside the box, but to break the box, creating new solutions to age-old and new problems. One of the hallmarks of the DifferenceMaker program is its ability to ignite the entrepreneurial spirit in students from all disciplines. Whether they come from engineering, business, health, sciences, or liberal arts, students in this program are given the tools, the resources, and mentorship they need to transform their ideas into tangible ventures that make a difference in the world. We have seen the seeds of innovation sprout into businesses, nonprofits, community initiatives, and tackle everything from environmental sustainability to healthcare innovation, and from educational access to social justice. At the heart of the DifferenceMaker program is interdisciplinary collaboration. The program encourages students to work across departments, disciplines, and academic years to bring diverse perspectives. We know from past experiences that the best solutions often come from teams that combine different skills, experiences, and knowledge. Through this approach, DifferenceMaker students learn the value of teamwork, communications, and understanding that the world's challenges cannot be solved in isolation. Tonight, student teams from various academic backgrounds have developed ideas for solving real-world problems. These teams are competing not just for funding, but for the opportunity to turn their ideas into a reality, and many do. Past winners have launched successful startups, secured patents, and even earned national recognition for their efforts. I'm proud of the DifferenceMaker program's tangible impact. This is not a program that talks about change, it actually creates change. Over the years, DifferenceMaker's teams have developed products and solutions that have real-world applications, from bioengineering innovations that are revolutionizing healthcare to social enterprises that are improving access to education and clean water. Our students are addressing some of the most pressing challenges facing our communities in our world. The program also continues to emphasize the importance of social responsibility, instilling in students the belief that they have a duty to succeed professionally and the responsibility to use their talents and resources to make the world a better place. Our difference makers are not just entrepreneurs, they are change makers. None of this world would be possible without the tireless efforts of our faculty, mentors, and the community of DifferenceMaker advisors who dedicate their time and expertise to guide our students on their journeys. I offer you my deepest gratitude to all those who contribute to the program's success. Your commitment to fostering innovation, creativity, and leadership in our students makes this program remarkable. As we look ahead, the DifferenceMaker program will continue inspiring, challenging, and empowering students to make their mark on the world. With each passing year, we see the program grow, and I cannot wait to see what the next generation of difference makers will accomplish. So I now have the honor to introduce our esteemed panel of judges. First is Steve Geister. Steve is a medical device consultant. Next, Chad LaFrance, who's retired from Texas Instruments. Then we have Raisha Abdelaziz, and I'm going to introduce you and Ray at the same time, because Raisha and Ray, well, Raisha is the CEO, and Ray is the CTO of Invisaware Tech LLC, which is one of the $1 million ideas that came out of the Difference Makers. So I want to thank you for being here today. And now, without further ado, let's let the games begin, as they say. And we have the panel of the judges that did the preliminary judging. They met just a little while ago, and they made a short list of 5 teams. So those 5 teams are going to be asked to come up here to present one at a time. You will have, correct me if I say anything wrong, David. You'll have 5 minutes to present, and then there'll be 5 minutes for the judges to ask questions. So when that 5-minute bell goes off when you're presenting, you just stop. Mid-sentence, don't keep on going, please.
You have the clock right over there on the side of the page.
Okay. Yeah, and Dave will get more and more annoying the longer and longer you continue to talk.
Yep.
So, our first presentation will be by Comprehensive Clicker.
For all the judges, can you guys all see this? Can you guys all see this number here? Yeah. Perfect. All right, I'm ready for that time to start whenever you guys are. Alrighty. So, before I begin and even introduce myself, I'm going to give each one of the judges one of these little boxes. As you guys can see, the box has 5 buttons. On the right side is going to be a red button. On the left side is going to be a blue button. The red side will stand for 1, whereas the blue will stand for 5. What I want the judges to do is during this presentation, please click these buttons as much as you want, as much as you can, to tell me your real-time comprehension, or rather level of understanding, about what it is I'm presenting. Sorry the boxes can be a bit finicky at times, but hopefully everything should work out. Thank you. That'll be better, huh? Is that one? Sounds like it, right? Yeah. Is it? Okay. Okay. So, well, my name is Jeff Norberg. I'm a double major in electrical engineering and computer science, and that little device you have in front of you is called the comprehension clicker. Now, this is probably not what you guys were expecting to see on a slide about a comprehension clicker. Well, on the right side, you guys can see the Ford F-Series, and next to it, the Ford F-Series again, except 80 years apart. Now, why am I showing you this? Well, I'm going to show you innovation that comes with time. You can see 2 cars, same model, same make, but so different. One is clearly better mileage, better speed, and, well, better everything, really. But here's a classroom from the 1940s. You can see the single teacher in the front. You can see rows of desks. You can see students raising their hands when they have questions. And then we have a classroom from the 2020s. And I'm not sure if you guys noticed, but it's actually the same slide. I just changed the photos. And to me, that's a shame. I just told you about this idea of innovation comes with time. But there's been 80 years. Where's the change in classrooms? And it's because of that I will make a claim that I don't make very lightly. It appears that there's been no large-scale, undoubtedly positive innovations in classrooms in at least the past 80 years. And we need to innovate classrooms. It's what makes us learn. It's the foundation of all of it. So let me tell you a little bit about a problem that I'm going to try to solve for you today. I interviewed a lot of professors, a lot of students, and they told me that misunderstandings go unaddressed in many lessons. Teachers don't have a good way of understanding. Do the students understand? Are they confused? Are they comprehending? And they tell me they use hands, facial expressions, quizzes, but quizzes happen after the fact, meaning you missed something. Raising your hand, not every student raises their hand, some people are shy, you don't want to be singled out. And then of course you have facial expressions. Maybe you're too shy to, facial expressions, maybe you are shy, maybe you're grumpy, maybe you're hungry. I mean, who knows why you're making the face you're making, and because of that, we need a way to actually show real-time comprehension. And for students, it's empowering. You can easily click a button, it costs you nothing, it's private, it's easy. So let's look at some of the opportunity for a product that could solve this, that could bridge this gap. Well, first of all, there's over 100,000 high schools, there are 5,000 colleges in the United States. A device like this is meant to go in every single one of those classrooms. That means every classroom we have one of these devices, every student could be using one, and there's so much room for growth. And there's an increasing need for global to innovative tools, and a quote I really like is by a guy named Tim Cavey. He's an assistant principal and author for Medium. He said, assessment is most effective and efficient when it happens right away. And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to nip the problem right in the bud. We're trying to solve the problem before it actually becomes something bad. We're trying to empower students to be able to say, I don't understand, please explain. Now here's the solution. Hai thong, thon, hoi, doi, gan, chok, lok, hok. I don't know about you guys, but I don't think that's English. I'm going to say it again because it seems to be like you guys understand. So one more time here. You have the devices. Tell me if you don't understand. There we go. I don't have to continue. So that wasn't English. I know that's a silly example, but you guys saw there was an issue going on in my presentation. You told me, I saw the score decrease, and I adjusted it. So without further ado, back to English. So my solution is the device you have in front of you, the comprehension clicker. You've used it, you see how it works. You know, you press those buttons, you tell me if I'm going too fast or I'm going too slow. If it's, if you're confused, I can slow down, I can see, I can adjust. It's really affordable for classrooms. It's a very high value. We're going to sell them for about $10 per unit, and that can empower any school to buy them. I mean, hopefully, price really shouldn't be an issue. And it requires no extra infrastructure. That means no Wi-Fi, no subscription services. The school buys it, and they're basically done. That's all you need, and you can just increase education and learning just like that. It's really easy to interface. There's 5 buttons, as you guys see. You're using the 5 buttons now, and it's going to engage students. And it also takes them off the phones. I mean, you have online apps, but what do those do? They distract you. You have notifications from your Snapchat and your Instagram, and we don't want to introduce a device to distract children, young adults, which is why we have something beautiful in front of you that's so simple and easy to use. For resources, I can make about 10 units on hand. With $2,000, though, I can really form the LLC, build more prototypes, introduce them to classrooms, and figure out how to improve this. And of course, in the long term, with more money, I can mass produce these units, I can attend worldwide events, and I can really make a difference in education around the world. Because if we introduce these tools, education will change, for the first time, for the better. So thank you guys for taking the time to listen to me. I really hope you like it, so we can improve education together. Okay. That's a little bit better, thank you. I was getting a little bit scared. So, questions, I guess. You guys have 5 minutes for that, I think.
I'll kick us off.
Sure.
The microphone.
Mic is off? Oh, that is so sad. Is that better?
No.
No. Is that?
That's no.
Wow, okay. That's different.
Just want to say 10 years ago, I was in your shoes on that same stage and I was shaking on the inside. You did a phenomenal job. Kudos to you. That was an excellent presentation.
Thank you so much. I'm starting to get nervous, but I'm doing this to help other students like me. And if I give the best presentation I can, maybe you guys will like it, maybe we can make a difference. So it's worth my nerves, I think.
You did amazing. We couldn't even tell. You did incredible. I definitely see a need for solutions to this problem. I definitely was one of the shy people in class who was afraid to raise their hand and ask questions. Took a while, but I got out of that phase, thankfully. Curious budget-wise, so
Sure.
You said it costs you $10 to make these, or you're selling
So
them?
I want to sell them between $10 and $15.
Okay.
I think I told you I want to sell them for $10 right now. I'm trying to figure out stuff like shipping is I haven't factored in, but in terms of actually developing the unit, it's costing me around $7.50.
Okay.
And I don't want to profit too much. This is for education, but with money we can innovate. And at the end of the day, if we're selling this to a classroom of 30 kids, it's 30 times $2 profit, 50 profit, so $60 right there. So
Yeah.
I think it's a good price point.
I love it. I would say, while I think the margins.
Could you press the microphone so people?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
It's better?
Yeah, I can hear you better too.
Awesome. The thing I would encourage you to give a little bit more thought on is how much can you decrease the price by to manufacture them while you increase. The only reason I say that is because the universities and colleges will probably need tens of thousands of these. And having sold a product to universities, I know how tight the budgets are. So I think you can really decrease the cost for this.
And I completely agree with you. On my on the last slide, I think it was last slide, I had to go over it quickly, but I meant, actually I didn't, I don't know if you were meant to say it, but I want to put this onto a PCB, and I want to make this cheaper. I want to get a little board that basically makes it easier to assemble, a lot of the components combined, because right now I'm building this from, buying a component from this website, something from this website. But I think if we have enough interest, we can produce these in bulk in a way where everything is just on one little chip, and I think I can cut that price in half. I mean, I'll have to talk to more people, but I think I can do that.
I know you can. Awesome. Great job.
So when I look at this and I see this, what I also wonder about is the university has to implement it, right?
Sure.
What about maintenance?
Good question. That's what I was, so that was actually my only concern about this device, I'm being honest with you guys. I was worried about powering it. No teacher at the end of the day is going to want to pick those up and charge them. So right now, this has a rechargeable battery. You can put in a normal battery if you want to, but I've been doing the math, and I don't know if you remember those little calculators you probably used back in elementary school with the little solar panels. This thing is so energy efficient. For my math, I can power that using some sort of solar panel. And I think that will make it pretty much a unit that stays in the desk forever. I mean, it's not like there's much wear and tear. I think it'll last a very long time. I mean, what's going to break on unless you drop it? But anything's going to break if you drop it. But I hope here is, it's just something you put down, you buy, you put it on the desk, and you never have to worry about it again. Except for the fact that I do want to make a lot more updates and add more innovative tools like buttons, like voting for ABCD multiple choice, and time and graphs and stuff like that. But in terms of the unit itself, not going to do anything, hopefully.
Have you looked at it from a patentability perspective?
Yes, so there are no patents, or rather there's no ideas even like this, websites or anything, that exist right now. The closest we have is a clicker, that's to vote A, B, C, and D. But as of something for real-time feedback, nothing exists. I have been through the Massachusetts patent websites, I've searched for anything related, and there are no education tools anywhere close to this. Thank you.
Great job on your presentation and the prototype. A couple questions for you. So one, you mentioned you wanted to add a solar panel. Do you have any, other than just you wanting to implement something like that, have you had any market feedback? Like I know you said earlier, you talked to some professors that were interested in implementing this.
Yeah.
Just curious, like if the market actually wants you to develop something like that before you go in and spend all this money adding it into the product.
Yeah, well, in terms of the basic idea itself, I had the privilege of speaking to a whole bunch of educators, principals, high school teachers, department chairs, and those alike, and they all want an idea like that. That I can say for sure. In terms of some of these added ideas, I have heard a lot of interest in having something that will, be solar powered to not have to recharge it. About the time, I had 30 seconds for when we were fixing the mic. I was 30 seconds late. If there was another question,
You also took a bunch of time.
All right, you're fine. You're right. I'm sorry about that.
Thank you. Good job.
Thank you so much, guys.
So next up is EDU.
So, my name is Alex Donnelly. This is my partner, Max Zarkov. We are EDU. So, EDU is a product for student success, student ease of use, and really connecting them with all that their university or any educational institution offers. So what we are, we're a platform for educational institutions, whether it be high school or college, for them to use as a tool for everyone in their ecosystem, whether it be students, faculty, parents of students, anyone that would like to get in touch with the university. We train the AI model on all of their data that is online and permitted if we do move forward. And then students or anyone that wants to interact with the user interface can query any question, whether it be what do I have coming up, what events are coming up at UMass Lowell, how can I boost my resume, what can I do to succeed here. And eventually, right now, we have a beta working, which we will move on to later, but we would like to integrate it very easily with the learning management system. So for example, we are moving to Canvas, and we can very simply set up a system where you sign on with your UMass Lowell or any educational institutions. Sign on, you get on the app, it knows who you are, you can query, what are my grades right now? What assignments do I have to do? It's, we've all been there, it's 10:50, what do I got to do at 12? What can I crank out right now to help me succeed? So, personalized educational experience, this really helps any student. We have many, many websites. We have a lot of data across all the internet that we all want to use, we all want to access, but we don't have time. There's so many so many resources offered by the school. They put time, energy, employees, money, all into these great resources like DifferenceMaker to help students succeed, help prepare them for careers, but they're not prepared. We found that 89% of business leaders thought that students were not prepared when they came to careers, and 87% of their peers and employees saw a skill gap either now or coming in the next 5 years. And on the contrary to that, 96% of education leaders believe that students were prepared. So the education leaders understand all these great campaigns that the schools run, but it's really not showing where they need it to, and that's where it really matters when they're looking at your resume and they want to take you in as a candidate. So we have the very basics right now. We could send our link out to all of UMass Lowell right now and have it start working. We're obviously not the final product yet, but it's very easy to get started going with our UMass Lowell or any other institution. We're really right there.
So as Alex mentioned, we do have a running beta at the moment, so judges, this may be a little unorthodox, but if you can take out your mobile devices and scan this QR code for me right here. Actually, anybody in the room could try as well. We haven't tested it with this many people, so the crashes aren't that.
Yeah, I was going to say it is beta. Hopefully it goes down well.
But definitely judges. So once that's scanned, it should bring me to our very simple UI. It should bring a text box right at the bottom, as well as 4 demo questions, just examples of what you could ask or write. Oh, is it still loading?
We're still powering up. We powered down.
Oh, got it, okay. But anyhow, once that user interface is pulled up here, you could essentially type in any question you need, anything you would be looking for. For example, say, if you want to type in, what classes should I take as a second-year computer engineering student? It should pull from whatever database we let it search through, specifically the UML database, whichever was publicly accessed, and cater your question for a response. Okay.
It does take a little bit of think right now. It's still working.
And feel free to mess around with it, ask any question you want. Specifically, can cater to your major, and it can even cater outside of classes if you want. You could even ask, what could I do to boost my resume? Ideally, it's not to say a replacement, but something to just add an ease of access, to say replace the solution center or even an advisor, you know?
Me and Max is definitely both had questions that we needed answered briefly, and we've asked our advisor certain simple basic questions, and obviously they don't want to deal with small stuff like that. That takes time. But with a tool like this, we can answer anything, ask any question. I was even talking to someone here today. They were talking about students looking into co-ops, and they just don't know where to look. Certain resources we offer, they don't know where to find it, but this is a solution for that to help them succeed and add those tools to their skill set. When they do apply for jobs, they do want to propel their career.
Time for question and answers.
Are you using a particular large language model for this?
Yeah, so right now, when I was beta testing it, I set up 3 different models. I set up 2 different chatbot models that I just use on simple web services. One was a little more advanced, but I had to go with the smallest one just so I could integrate it easily into my app. But it still was serviced on 10 different web links to scan the data for, and it still works very, very well. The next model I had was 22,000 pages, and I haven't even integrated that one yet. And then on top of that, we will use a Google Cloud platform. We could use any cloud platform, but we decided on Google Cloud because that is what we find most efficient. So what we would do is take all the web data from whatever institution we're looking for, add it to that AI model. We don't obviously deal with any of the language processing or anything. And then as for if we were to integrate student data, we would, I don't know how much you guys know about AI, but there's a term called RAG, which is retrieval augmented generation. So you RAG the student data, so it references the student data off the pre-trained model that you would use for any institution.
Really cool. I feel like when I was going into college, I was so young, all the basic things like where do I get a parking pass? I'm like, Dad, I don't know where to get a parking pass. It's so incredible that we live in a day and age where you have resources and tools like this. My question to you is, how do you guys prevent copycats? So one of my best friends is an engineer at Microsoft, just left his job to work on a startup, and he keeps making simple AI tools. One of the tools he's making is how to coach men to ask women out at bars just for fun. How do we prevent someone like David, for example, from making one of these and beating you guys to it and selling it to universities? Have you guys thought that process through yet?
Not particularly. I can't say that's really crossed our mind because quite literally anybody could do it. Like we don't have any patent, no trademark, no anything to it. But you want to add to that?
Yeah, I would just say we're so new to AI, and essentially it's one of those things where, you know, the big thing about this is we're looking for a problem, and you could so to speak that our problem is that we're not using this right now. So there are a lot of new incumbents, and that's just what we're going to have to deal with, but there is a lot of space to be first to market. There is a lot of space to take advantage, and we are in a prime position to take advantage of UMass Lowell's opportunity, or even go back to our high schools and try and start from the ground up and be that first to market product.
I love that answer because people told myself and Ray all the time there's going to be a million panic buttons, and what really set us apart was getting to market first. We can't stop Google from inventing safety jewelry, but because we've built such a large brand presence, it would be better for Google to buy us than to compete with us at this point. So that's what I would encourage you guys to do as well, as I would focus on this and try and get it in the hands of as many people as you can.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Great job. I'm just curious how you guys came up with this idea.
Really from just personal experience, you know. We've all had our fair share of troubles. Well, actually, I can't speak for everybody in this room, but I know for sure I have in terms of getting a hold of my advisor or really just getting the resources I need. We were actually able to send out a student survey asking specifically like for those services if they knew about them, if they had access to them, if they had difficulty accessing them. And majority of the votes said yes, it was hard for them to access these resources, or they didn't simply even know about them. So that right there was really our demands to base this design, and really just how to help these students out and help ourselves out as well.
I also have something to add to that, because I really did have, when people talk about emotional connection, it sounds a little goofy, but I really did have a strong one here, because I was in high school, and I don't know if you guys live in Massachusetts, it's a very, we got into public school, but it was very competitive in terms of the college culture and being prepared for that. And I knew a lot of people with resources like college advisors, third parties, people helping them out, you know, people that already been through the process, family values. And there are a lot of people, students our age, that just don't have that. They don't have someone in their corner telling them what to do, what route to take, what opportunities to take advantage of. And I feel like this is a tool. See, I had it in high school. I could ask, what should I do to better be in a position to apply for university, make myself a better candidate, and this would be something that would really help me, and I really wish I had.
Definitely encourage you to try to collect as much feedback from your users, as well as if you're planning to sell to universities. Like you mentioned, there's a lot of people employed to try to create all these resources. I'm sure a lot of them would love to see more people using them because of this tool. So definitely try to collect feedback from both ends.
Thank you.
How would you manage the continual update of data, things changing continually? There's so much information out there. How would you propose? How would you manage that?
So the way the AI currently works is we gave it a range of data to scan or scrape through, and so as the data is continuously updated, we could also just update that scope or range for it to scan through, constantly updating the information it has to help its students.
Yeah, one small thing. So, like I said on one of the chatbots I started working on, I had no idea. UMass was 22,000 plus web pages online. But it took a day, less than a day, to work on 2 of those. So once it has that 22,100 pages, the additional page each day, with the additional book to scan for one more page is really rudimentary. It would be really easy to solve.
Thank you.
Next is Puppet Prosthetics.
Hi, how are you? My name is Eleni.
I'm John.
My name is Linda.
And I'm Nate.
And we are first-year biomedical engineering students, and this is Puppet Prosthetics, our product. So this project is based off of a real-world problem, essentially, where it's loosely based off of a family friend of mine. She's 8 years old, And an issue that she encounters is that annually she grows out of her prosthetic. So it's a big time consumer and it's very cost ineffective for her and her family to continue repurchasing a below the knee prosthetic for her.
So I just wanted to describe a little what the current prosthetics on the market look like. So it might be a little hard to see, we don't have it on the slides, but so it starts with the, yeah, thank you. So it has a socket on top, and then it has a pylon that extends down to the foot, and then there's just the foot that attaches to that. And then these prosthetics, they're great for adults. However, when it comes to like children, especially children ages like 3 to 12 years old, which grow at a rapid rate, they'll end up outgrowing this prosthetic almost annually or biannually, meaning they'll have to spend about $5,000 to $10,000 each year just buying a new prosthetic throughout these 9 years. And when it comes to the market for prosthetics, there's about a $6 billion market, and it's increasing at a rate of 4.4% each year, which we hope to take advantage of. And I'm going to pass it to Linda, and she'll describe our solution and how we plan to take advantage of the market.
Alright, so this is the prototype that we have. So this is just the inside view of the prosthetic, but it obviously would have the cover. So the pylon rod, while the child is growing, can be turned. This is just what the pylon looks like. So it can be turned and brought down a notch if the child, when the child grows, and it locks in place so that it stays in. Another feature that we wanted to add to the prosthetic was if the child wants to go to the beach or wants to go hiking, they can just pop this piece off, this foot piece, and it comes off. And they can replace it with a flipper or whatever environmentally they need. And I'll pass it to Nate to describe that further.
So this is our initial prototype. As she said earlier, we're first year students, so we haven't had much time and opportunity to really develop our idea. So this is just a really raw prototype of just a mechanism to make sure our first idea and the most important part of our prototype worked. But we want to include a kit that has multiple attachment pieces for the foot. Like she said, these wouldn't be pieces you buy online. These would be pieces that would come with the kit and then you could swap them out, or a child could swap them out if you want to make them user-friendly, so that obviously children could use them on their own. Let's say if they're at school, they want to go on the playground and it's, what's it called, the little wood chips on the ground. If they can't walk on those with their prosthetic, we want to make sure kids can have the same opportunity to enjoy their childhood if they don't have a lower limb as other kids who are unfortunately able to. But like I said, this is just an initial prototype. We want to have a system where the attachment site can widen and tighten so that as the person grows, or the child grows, it obviously gets longer, but we want to make it so it gets wider with the child too, because that's an important factor of growth as well.
I think that's all we have.
So a two-part question. What's your next plans? You touched on it a little bit, but what specifically will you work on for your next prototype?
So our next prototype, or as a group, we want to tackle what I just stated with the width attachment site. We don't have any width that can be adjusted on the prosthetic. That is something that we wanted to make adjustable on that. We also want to explore various different materials. We haven't had any funding, really, not that much money at all to explore and purchase different materials. We haven't had much time because we're still getting used to the college environment, of course. But we do really want to continue working on this. We have decided as a group that even if we do switch majors, or if someone doesn't, as I said, someone switches majors, we really want to continue working on this and make the best product we can. As we said, we're first year students, so to even be up here, it means a lot. The fact that we can even have 3 more years and all the resources that UMass hold, like Enable and other companies like us that have made prosthetics, that have graduated and gone on to be very successful. We have a lot of resources at the school that we can use and try to take advantage of to make the best product that we can.
I just want to add one quick thing to what he said. When it comes to like the materials, we do plan to make it similar to like the prosthetics currently out there. except we just want to add the adjustability feature, so it'll be just as durable and like basically almost the same materials as prosthetics currently out there.
And the second part was, if you had your choice of adding one more person to your team, what expertise would you look for?
That's a very good question, actually. Definitely a business major to pitch the product, for sure. I don't know.
And to look into like funding, I feel business would be great for that.
Do you envision the product being adjusted at home by a parent or by the child, or do you think they'd have to go back to the doctor?
Absolutely. So our goal is, so for the children along with the adults, like whatever caregiver, family member, can learn the mechanisms of this prosthetic device. So it is used by both the child and the adult. So let's say a child wants to go to a soccer game, you can be like, oh, come here, like let's switch out your foot really quick. So something like that. Yeah.
And when I say adjustment, about the length also, not just the attachment, but lengthwise?
Lengthwise as well. As you can see, we try to use rotation as a way to make the adjustability happen because it's a very user-friendly way of making it happen.
So a little caution, just be very careful with that, because they make the wrong adjustment, they impact another part of their body. And now you cause more damage.
Yeah, it is a very difficult field to get into, but it is a very big field, so we do want to make the best product we can, and it's going to take a lot of time and a lot of energy and a lot of effort and a lot of research and speaking to the right people to make the right things happen, but I think we have a good idea so far, and I think we can go a really long way.
Yeah, it's a great concept, thank you.
Kudos to you guys for doing this as first-year students. I hope you continue to pursue it. My question is, having been a judge for DifferenceMaker several years in a row, there's always a prosthetics company pitching. So what makes you guys different than Enable or non-spec? Can you explain a little bit more?
Well, what really separates us is the adjustability factor. Now, we did find like one prosthetic when we were researching that has this adjustability. It's not on the market. It was just, I think, also college students. That it was a prototype as well. However, their prosthetic only lasted about, was it 2 years? 2 to 3 years. And we plan to make our prosthetic last throughout these children's, like those 9 years, from 3 to 12 years old. And so that way, it's a one-time purchase. It saves a lot of time and money.
Great job, everyone. My question, so I understand it's supposed to be adjustable, but is this supposed to be a one-size-fits-all, and that's mass-produced, or do you guys custom design it for just each individual user?
That's a very great question, thank you. So we want to make it custom designed. So basically, any prosthetic is measured for the person themselves, and that's our plan as well. We want to also work with a team of clinics and physicians and get access to these clients' medical records so we can have an estimated guess essentially on how tall they will be when they're older, how much they'll weigh, yeah.
I also wanted to add that making something that could be mass-produced could be very beneficial to third-world countries that don't have the resources to make something like this. So even if we were trying to custom fit it, having something that is a one-size-fits-all, would be very beneficial to the world.
Time is up.
Thank you, guys. Next up is Rainforest Associates.
Hello. So my name is Alan Campbell. I'm a mechanical engineering student, and I'm a senior.
My name is Hayden Hamill, and I am a graphic design major, and I'm also a senior.
And we would like to tell you guys about the tree frog. So let's get into the problem. So research done by the US military has shown us that repeated exposure to low pressure blast waves can result in traumatic brain injury, or TBI. So essentially what this means is constantly being around small explosions day after day that initially don't seem like they cause harm can actually cause serious brain injury, even if it is not immediately apparent. So the issue is that people are not even aware they have this injury, and as a result, it has been getting misdiagnosed as PTSD. So, as you can imagine, this largely impacts members of the military, even if they did not see active combat. This can happen in training, and that's one of the reasons why it got discovered in the first place. It also impacts other fields such as construction, mining, and blasting. So our goal is to help prevent compounding TBI by identifying when people have been exposed to these harmful blasts.
And that brings us to our solution, the tree frog, a wearable rupture membrane that ruptures at 4 psi or greater. This is really simple to use because you get instant feedback and you can see when the user has been exposed to harmful blasts. It is so simple that it can be attached to any helmet strap and is easily replaceable. It also allows us to create blasting records so we can keep a record of those blasts.
So here we can see some images of the tree frog. It's really small, it's very compact, it goes on a helmet strap, like my brother said. It has a protective casing to avoid it from being broken by anything that isn't a pressure wave. The disc is highlighted in green. That is actually made out of aluminum. So in real life, it won't be green. That is just to help us visualize it for this purpose. And here we can see the results of some tests that we ran. We have been simulating 4 psi with water, because obviously we do not have access to explosives for testing. So this is what a rupture looks like. And this shows us that it does rupture consistently and reliably.
So, why are we unique? There has been previous attempts to solve this issue, such as BAE's head system. BAE's head system contains multiple electronic sensors, whereas the tree frog is purely mechanical to avoid pitfalls of electronic sensors, such as being more expensive to manufacture, more components, needs a battery source. It can also broadcast signals that you don't want in a combat area, and then it is easily replaceable. We don't need a specialist to come back and repair our system.
So what makes the tree frog better? Well, I would like to go back to the BAE head sensor, because this used multiple electronic sensors, and this thing was wildly expensive. I believe it costs around $80,000 for one helmet. Ours is extremely cost effective because it has fewer components, most of which can be made by injection molding. So we can probably make this for under $1 for one unit. So this allows us to distribute it to millions of people where they could not do that before. Also, because of its simplicity, it can be installed and replaced in a matter of seconds, which makes it reliable in a setting in which batteries might not be accessible for electronic sensors per se. And here are our target markets. Obviously, our main market is the military, as they have most of their employees, they're handling explosions more often than other people. So, judging by the numbers of the larger branches of the military, we can expect at least 2.5 million people to benefit from the tree frog. We're also looking at other markets, such as construction, mining, and blasting, as many of the employees in these fields are also exposed to explosions on a day-to-day basis.
All right, and that brings us to our goals for the future. We want to start class testing with real explosives. We want to start to obtain funding to manufacture in small batches. We want to go from our patent pending status to a patent, and then we would like to start making it a standard form of PPE in military and construction. Any questions? References?
Just have a quick question. How did you come up with this idea?
So we saw a New York Times article that was talking about they were recognizing these brain injuries in some of the patients who, I know it's really dark, but in some of the people who were committing suicide. When they took scans of the brain, they saw injuries that were TBI.
Thank you.
We always ask this question, have you patented this, or have you talked to them?
We are patent pending.
Okay.
That's impressive. You guys are already patent pending. I don't think I've ever seen a team that has already filed, so amazing. How much do you think you can manufacture these for, and how much do you plan to sell them for?
We believe that on a large scale, we can manufacture these well under $1, and obviously we want to help out the most people, so we want to make sure that this is affordable, make sure it doesn't go above $5. Does that answer your question?
Yeah,
We're going to be selling lots of units.
Yes,
Awesome.
it gets cheaper.
And then how did you know about BAE Solution? Do either of you guys work for the company?
No, that was done research on our own end, because all this research is public, it's done by the US military, and they were talking about some of the solutions that they had tried to do in some of their contractors, and that was one of the contractors that had tried to solve it. And they also talked about the pitfalls of it, such as being too expensive.
Yeah, you guys should definitely pitch this to them.
Thank you.
Great job, guys. My question is, so you're primarily targeting the military. There's one of the largest purchasers with BAE. So you're going up against a giant, I would say, who's well-funded, has done tons of research. You mentioned they're selling devices that sell for about $80,000. I guess I'm just curious from your research, what have you found as to why they haven't sold something that's under $1 to develop?
So we believe that a company like BAE kind of has endless funding. And so when they are brought on to tackle a problem, they're using their best resources. Their sensors are very accurate. They're using a lot of sensors that are built into the helmets. However, that is not practical on a wide-scale use. Ours is, and ours is the one that has the patent pending status now. There was no design for a purely mechanical pressure sensors. They do exist, but not for this purpose. So we believe that even though a company like BAE has immense funding, we can compete there.
Can I ask you another question? So is it sensitive to the direction? I mean, would you have to have these all around your helmet or around your body, or how would you implement that?
Right, so that is something that we want to look into with using real explosives for research purposes, because the answer to that is right now, you would have to use multiple sensors. Maybe you'd have to use 2, maybe you'd have to use 3. The answer is a little bit unclear, but again, they're very cost effective, so it wouldn't make too much of an impact, but also we could tweak our design a little bit. There are some things that we can adjust on the manufacturing side to account for most explosions not being, directly head-on. Like, that's not always how explosions work.
And it would be a go, no-go result, so if it failed or it imploded,
Yes.
basically, then it would be,
Yes.
you've been exposed to.
Right.
Any other questions?
And our final presentation will be by Right Squad. I just want to remind you, there's also the People's Choice Award. So we won't know what that is until we come back at the end.
All right, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening, judges. My name is Adam Gordon. I am a student at UMass Lowell, and I'm also an Air Force ROTC cadet. These are my supervisors who help me out with my research. So what I'm tackling here is the problem of severe human rights violations that often go undetected or unaddressed due to a lack of effective real-time monitoring tools. So satellite imagery is delayed and is costly. This is what current human rights NGOs such as Amnesty or Human Rights Watch and even the United Nations use to try and find those human rights violations. Manual reporting by journalists is risky, and it's also oftentimes slow when it's at the analysis period. And critical evidence is often lost or tampered with. So the perpetrators that carry out these attacks and carry out these human rights violations often go with impunity, or sometimes it takes decades upon decades to be able to try them in the criminal court because of that lack of evidence. So the examples of this is ongoing right now, such as in Myanmar, in Syria, and right now in Israel and Palestine. So who's affected? This pretty much affects everybody. It affects humanitarian organizations, for example, UNRWA, Amnesty International, and Human Rights Watch that rely on this data to be able to be collected. It impacts investigative journalists. For example, Al Jazeera Investigations, The Washington Post, Reuters, BBC, basically anybody that has journalists on the ground in conflict zones that are being subjected to, or in the vicinity of these human rights violations. And also, of course, this is going to affect immediately those conflict-affected communities. So the individuals that are actually enduring the violence, enduring the displacement, and the destructions in their own regions. So the opportunity presents itself. Just this year, 120 million people in this world have been forcibly displaced worldwide due to violence and persecutions carried out by these human rights violations. In Gaza alone, 130 journalists have been targeted and killed, with 47 injured, 2 missing, and 74 arrested. Now, the global drone service market is projected to grow from $28.5 billion to $260 billion. And this is driven by an increased demand for these humanitarian surveillance applications. Simultaneously, NGOs and journalists are consistently highlighting the dire need, or the lack thereof, of real-time accessible tools for documenting these violations in locations that are inaccessible, where journalists can't go, where people can't get this data firsthand. So I spoke to 2 individuals about my proposed products. One of them is a humanitarian policy advisor at the World Food Program, and the other is an international human rights lawyer for the ICC at The Hague. Pretty much what they both had to say is that timely and credible evidence is key when it comes to not only holding those accountable for the crimes committed, but also documenting and looking at them in a proactive approach versus a reactive approach. Like, we're trying to stop these people from being displaced, stop them from being killed, versus looking at it after the fact that it already has happened, which has been going on for centuries. So, my competitors for this include Amnesty International, Citizen Evidence Lab, Curadox, and Planet. These are groups that are already collecting data on human rights violations. However, Rights Watch does it very much differently, and I'll explain why. Planet's Labs provides satellite imagery over conflict zones, but is expensive to obtain, requires manual analysis by individuals, and lacks real-time monitoring capabilities. So there's no deterrence here, there's no proactiveness, and there's no predictive capabilities. It's simply looking at something visually after it's happened. Now, Amnesty Citizens Evidence Lab takes that a step further, and it has human volunteers to crowdsource that data, crowdsource that visual signs, and however, it has slow response times, and it relies on post-event analysis rather than proactive measures. And Curadox is a database that simply looks at text-based data, so again, not proactive and not stopping things before they happen. My solution, Rights Watch, is an integrated AI-driven framework that combines natural language processing and object detection to look at linguistic data and also visual evidence of physical human rights violations. And it's an ensemble learning approach, so we're looking at both ways that human rights violations should be most effectively and optimally analyzed in real time, and also in the future. So these images are examples from my model that has been trained and used on real-world applications in Syria and in Gaza, where I trained my images. So it's actively detecting physical signs of destruction, while also the natural language model scrapes the internet for every single application of any crimes that might have been committed linguistically.
Time is up.
I guess I'll take questions now. I didn't get to finish my slides.
So I see 2 products, right?
Yes.
Okay. And for the drone, so you're envisioning the model to actually be resident right here in this box?
Yes, so the box itself, that there is my model deployed. That drone is just a prototype. It can be any drone because different groups supply their own drones. Al Jazeera is going to supply a different drone than BBC is based on region, based on context. But the point is that this box is fit for any drone, and it's deployable by any journalist on the ground, so they can remain in a safe location while getting the data that they need in a safer or completely safe environment.
Okay, and just one more question, if you don't mind. How big do you think the model would be for the visual?
Like in terms of
how much memory storage would you?
Oh, okay. So training-wise, it takes, to get ultimate accuracy, which is what we need to approach here, thousands upon thousands of individual data models to train it to get to a good accuracy where it can be deployed on the field. Once it's deployed on the field, because this drone is going to be in hot areas, if it does get shot down, the data isn't lost because it geotags where each human rights violation was found, and it also uploads the coordinates, and there's also other context such as what the violation was that it was detected on a server, accessible by whatever institution provided the drone, usually a human rights group.
And does it also record that video footage to the cloud so people can
It does,
see
yes. That's where the issue of memory comes. Right now, I'm planning on using the funding for AWS virtual environment so that I can create my own virtual environments that have specific, diverse, versatile environments that I can train my program on. Rather than because I don't have access to those conflict zones, I can make it myself and record in a virtual environment, if that makes sense.
Really cool concept. I got chills because like there's so many crises going on in the world right now, and like you said, so many reporters, they're gonna get killed if they report on it. What were you gonna tell us on the next slide? Can you flip to the next slide?
Yeah, probably the most important part. So this is very cheap to make. It only requires $120 for the hardware, and then for the other model that runs in tandem, that natural language processing, $0 to make. The only thing that I need money for is high quality testing, so these massive data sets. My supervisor at the Harvard Middle East Initiative has already suggested that he will contribute with collecting that data. We just need funding for it. So we're waiting on that, and then we can expand the data set and get it to a stage where it has enough accuracy and precision to be deployable in the real world.
Awesome, thank you.
Thank you.
Great job. My question is, who is your end customer? Do you envision yourself as a for-profit or a non-profit organization?
I envision starting off probably as a for-profit, simply so that I can continue to get some type of money for the testing, because my plan is that these data sets should be, like I already said, like massive. It's going to take a little bit to be able to get it to, like there's never 100% accuracy, right? Especially when it comes to machine learning. So there's always improvements that can be made. However, once it reaches a point where the model is accurately predicting and analyzing everything, then the end goal is, of course, to be a not-for-profit, but simply to be able to aid and help these human rights organizations that are themselves also not-for-profit. All right, that's it. Thank you.
So let's give another round of applause for all of our groups. Now the judges will go off to a secluded room and do their deliberations, and we'll be back here shortly to announce the winners. So once again, stick around, don't go away. I also want to put a plug in. There were some amazing ideas. There were a lot of great ideas presented tonight. I wish they all could have been up here to give their presentations, but time limited us to 5. So Professor Teller over here wants me to give a plug for the Idea Challenge, where there are big dollars available there. So so don't give up yet. Everyone should try for the Idea Challenge likewise. Thank you very much. Good. Thank you everybody for sticking around this evening. So I am going to start off by announcing the People's Choice Award, which is Right to Watch. I love giving out these really big checks. And number 3, Rainforest Associates. Number 2, Topic prosthetics. Congratulations. Try to do it properly. And number 1 is comprehension. So I want to thank all the teams for participating in our event tonight, as well as our judges and everyone else who attended the event. Thank you again, and have a great, safe trip home. Bye.